Old Yeller, Chapter 2. It was the next morning when the big yeller dog came. I found him at daylight when Mama told me to step out to the dog run and cut down a side of Midland meat hanging to the pole rafters. And the minute I opened the door and looked up, I saw that the meat was gone. It had been tied to the rafter with bear grass blades braided together for string. Now nothing was left hanging to the pole but the frazzled ends of the snapped blades. I looked down then. At the same instant, a dog rose from where he'd been curled up on the ground beside the barrel that held our cornmeal. He was a big, ugly, slick-haired yeller dog. One short ear had been chewed clear off, and his tail had been bobbed so close to his rump that there was hardly stub enough left to wag. But the most noticeable thing to me about him was how thin and starved-looking he was. All but for his belly. His belly was swelled up as tight and round as a pumpkin. It wasn't hard to tell how come that belly was so full. All I had to do was look at the piece of curled up rind lying in the dirt beside him, with all the meat gnawed off. That side of meat had been a big one, but now there wasn't enough meat left on the rind to interest a pack rat. Well, to lose the only meat we had left from last winter's hog butchering was bad enough, but what made me even madder was the way the dog acted. He didn't even have the manners to feel ashamed of what he'd done. He rose to his feet, stretched, yawned, then came romping toward me, wiggling that stub tail and yelling, "Yo, yo, yo!" just like he belonged there and I was his best friend. "Why, you thieving rascal!" I shouted and kicked at him as hard as I could. He ducked just in time, so that I missed him by a hair. But nobody could have told that I missed, after the way he fell over on the ground and lay there with his belly up and his 4 feet in the air, squalling and bellowing at the top of his voice. From the racket he made, you'd have thought I had a club and was breaking every bone in his body. Mama came running to stick her head through the door and say, "What on earth, Travis?" "Why, this old stray dog has come and eaten up our middling meat clear up," I said. I aimed another kick at him. He was quick and rolled out of reach again, just in time, then fell back to the ground and lay there, yelling louder than ever. Then out came little Arliss. He was naked, like he always slept in the summer. He was hollering, "A dog! A dog!" He ran past me and fell on the dog and petted him till he quit howling, then turned on me, fighting mad. "You quit kicking my dog!" he yelled fiercely. "You kick my dog and I'll wear you to a frazzle!" The battling stick that Mama used to beat the dirt out of the clothes when she washed stood leaning against the wall. Now little Arliss grabbed it up in both hands and came at me swinging. It was such a surprise move, little Arliss making fight at me that way, that I just stood there with my mouth open and let him clout me a good one before I thought to move. Then Mama stepped in and took the stick away from him. Arliss turned on her, ready to fight with his bare fists. Then he decided against it and ran and put his arms around the big dog's neck. He began to yell, "He's my dog! You can't kick him! He's my dog!" The big dog was back up on his feet now, wagging his stub tail again and licking the tears off Arliss's face with his pink tongue. Mama laughed. "Well, Travis," she said, "it looks like we've got us a dog." "But, Mama," I said, "you don't mean we'd keep an ugly old dog like that? One that will come in and steal meat right out of the house?" "Well, maybe we can't keep him," Mama said. "Maybe he belongs to somebody around here who will want him back." "He doesn't belong to anybody in the settlement," I said. "I know every dog at Salt Licks." "Well, then," Mama said, "if he's a stray, there's no reason why little Arliss can't claim him, and you'll have to admit he's a smart dog. Mighty few dogs have sense enough to figure out a way to reach a side of meat hanging that high. He must have climbed up on top of that meal barrel and jumped from there." I went over and looked at the wooden lid on top of the meal barrel. Sure enough, in the thin film of dust that had settled over it, there were dog tracks. "Well, all right," I admitted. "He's a smart dog, but I still don't want him." "Now, Travis," Mama said, "you're not being fair. You had a dog when you were little, but Arliss has never had one. He's too little for you to play with, and he gets lonely." I didn't say any more. When Mama got her mind set a certain way, there was no use in arguing with her. But I didn't want that meat-thieving dog on the place, and I didn't aim to have him. I might have to put up with him for a day or so, but sooner or later, I'd find a way to get rid of him. Mama must have guessed what was going on in my mind, for she kept handing me sober looks all the time she was getting breakfast. She fed us cornmeal mush cooked in a pot swung over the fireplace. She sweetened it with wild honey that Papa and I had cut out of a bee tree last fall and added cream skimmed off last night's milk. It was good eating, but I'd had my appetite whetted for fried Midland meat to go with it. Mama waited till I was done, then said, "Now, Travis, as soon as you've milked the cows, I think you ought to get your gun and try to kill us a fat young doe for meat. And while you're gone, I want you to do some thinking on what I said about little Larless and that stray dog."